Good evening. It's Tuesday night, February, I'm not sure, 15th. This is the Cleveland Indians team preview show. I do apologize about the delay, and we are still having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to get our guest online, but I'm not having any success with this tonight, and I apologize to Robert. So bear with me just for just a second. Okay, so again, my apologies. My intention was to have Robert Kula join me tonight, and I lost Wi-Fi about an hour ago, delaying the start of the show, and I've been trying for about 15 minutes to get him on screen with me, and it's not working. So I'm 100% sure it's something on my end. So my apologies to anyone watching tonight that was looking forward to seeing Robert. We're going to have him on very soon as we can figure this out. But let's talk briefly about the Cleveland Indians. They are coming into the season. They were a fifth-place team last year. They were actually 18th in pitching, 18th in hitting. You'll see tonight some additions made to the team that I think are going to make them more competitive in 2021. They actually have a very favorable schedule as it relates to the holidays. You know, some of the teams that have home games for opening day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, the Indians fall under that category. So we're going to take a look here at the schedule real quick. They're going to actually open the season at home versus the Oakland A's. And then on Memorial Day, May 31st, at home against Pittsburgh. 4th of July, home against the Texas Rangers. Labor Day. Oh, here we go. All right, Robert, do you see me? All right, we will have Robert on shortly. We got him here. Glad that worked out. So we'll bring Robert on here in a moment. Getting back to the schedule, on Labor Day, the Indians will host the White Sox on September 6th, and then they finish the season at home on September 26th against Detroit. So opening against Oakland, May 31st against Pittsburgh, Memorial Day, 4th of July against the Rangers, Labor Day against the White Sox, and finishing the season against Detroit. So hopefully we still have you with us. I'm going to bring on Robert right now. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Joey. How are you today?
I'm good. Sorry for the issues that I was having here. About an hour ago, the wind, like I was actually working on this show, and the wind knocked out my Wi-Fi, my music stopped, my spreadsheet froze. I was panicking. I reached out to you, and we had some issues getting you on, but I'm glad you're here now. We're going to talk Cleveland Indians tonight. Bob and I have something in common. Bob studied at Cleveland State, and I actually worked there in 2016. Now, you're originally from the Cleveland area?
Yes, born and raised.
Tell us some of your earliest memories of being an Indians fan growing up there in Cleveland.
You know, in fact, I still remember the first game our mom and dad took us to. There are 5 of us kids, and it was a Washington Senators game, 1969.
Nice.
And we had started heading down, and it was a real windy, and my dad thought it was going to rain. And I remember turning back. We turned around to come home, and I think maybe a couple of us were crying in the back seat. But we ended up turning back around and going to the game. And the 2 things I remember about that game are walking up the ramp and seeing the outfield grass for the first time in the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. And the other thing was Ken Harrelson played right field. It was his first season in Cleveland, and he came out and gave everyone in right field, not a whole lot of fans, but he gave everyone the peace sign. and we felt that he was literally looking directly to us, and that was a great memory for a 7-year-old kid at his first ball game.
Do you remember who won the game?
I don't remember that. I remember I think it was a year later, and my brother will correct me on this one, but it was a game when Sam McDowell was pitching for the Indians, and a right-handed batter was coming up, and Alvin Dark did not want to take Sam McDowell out of the game, but he also didn't want him to pitch to the batter, so he moved him to second base for a play, and he moved. I think he moved Eddie Leone over to shortstop. And he actually got a force out at second base, Sam McDowell, on his knees because he wanted to make sure he got the put out, and then he moved back and pitched the rest of the inning.
Nice. I actually have now. You and I have been. We've actually known each other about 9 months. When we started this Utopian Baseball Universe last March, obviously all my friends and family came in. Robert Kula was one of the first people that came in that I had never met. And Robert, do you remember where we met originally? Was it in one of the other baseball groups, like the baseball books group, or?
It had to be either in the cards or one of those groups. But I knew that it was, I think, literally in the, remember, it was either in the teens or the 20s. I knew there weren't a lot when I first joined.
Yeah. So, when I started, when I launched it was March 20th. I probably had 15 members, and then we got a little bit of local news coverage, and it went up to like 30 overnight. And then by the end of last year, we were at like 61. And now just in the last 2 weeks, we're over 300 now. So Robert is I'm going to call him a charter member of this group because he was with us almost from day one. So the people that are watching tonight that know me a little bit know that I have ties to Cleveland. I actually lived there in 2016. I've been a Browns fan since 1983. But my tie to the Indians is that in 1983, my favorite player for the Brewers, Gorman Thomas, was traded to the Indians for Rick Manning. And it was the first time in my life that my heart was broken. Do you have any memories of, I know Gorman was only there for about 3 months, but was he a well-received player? Did the fans enjoy Gorman Thomas, or were they missing Rick Manning?
Well, and I know, again, I'll make a reference to my brother was a big Gorman Thomas fan, Randy. So I know he was, but you mentioned Rick Manning. I have to go back because to be in the teams of the late 70s, I mean, it was Rick Manning and Dwayne Kuiper. And before this call, I was looking through some of my own scrapbook materials that never made it in the scrapbook, but I actually had the paper when Dwayne Kuiper hit his first Major League home run on August 29th of 1977. That date is notable because Lou Brock passed Ty Cobb in steals. It's in the same newspaper, so it was a notable day in sports. And what I heard later on was Dwayne Kuiper actually did hit another home run in the early innings of the game later on, and it was rained out. And I heard him say it was actually he actually has the record for the most at bats with one home run, and I think it became more notable because it just ended up as being one home run versus two, which could have been had the game not been rained out.
So I didn't realize that was his only Major League home run.
Yep, and he ended up having over 3,000 at bats. So with the Indians, Giants, I'm not sure. I think it was just with the Indians and Giants.
That's fascinating. So the Jake, I still call it the Jake, by the way, for anyone watching. I know it's Progressive Field. I still call it the Jake. The Jake opened in what, the early 90s, 92?
94. And that was the spring shortened season.
That's right. What are some of your earliest memories of the new stadium? Because I know that they went to the World Series in 95. I think they returned in 97.
97. Came close 95. In 2007.
Yeah, that's right.
But I would say that my two, I'll mention three memories. The first memory was, and two of them were standing on the left field porch. The first one was 1995. It was their first playoff game in 41 years since the 54 series. So it was the first playoff game that I had ever attended for the Indians. There was a long rain delay. Roger Clemens started for the Red Sox. I was standing on the left field porch. It was 2:08 a.m., and that's when Tony Pena hit his home run to win Game 1 of the series against the Red Sox, which they ultimately ended up winning that series and going to the World Series after beating the Mariners. So that was a memory, standing on the left field porch. And then 21 years later, I was on the left field porch when Rajai Davis hit his eighth inning home run. And never before have I experienced not only the loud, but so many people crying who were Cubs fans and Indians fans. And then to watch the Cubs win it, although it was disappointing for the Indians not to win it, there was so many memories of watching Cubs fans who were in tears talking to their grandparents on their phones who were deceased. I mean, they were literally talking to their parents, but talking to their deceased grandparents who never got to see the Cubs win a World Series. So it's still a memory that it was a great memory, and so close to when the Cavs won their championship that it was just taking in the moment of Game 7 in Cleveland that hadn't happened for such a long time.
So, and I shared this with you a couple nights ago, and some of my friends maybe are aware of this, but when I moved to Cleveland, it was the night of Game 5 of the 2016 series. I got in the night before, and I had tickets to the Browns-Jets game. It was the 30th anniversary of the 86 team. And the person sitting next to me asked what I was doing for the Indians-Cubs game that night. And I said, well, I don't know. I just got into town. And she said, the Jake is selling tickets for $10. You can watch the game on the big screen in the stadium with full concessions. And I said, yes, I'm definitely doing that. And went to the game. I was sitting next to someone else at this point. And I'll never forget this because I've been a baseball fan for almost 40 years now. And I know how important it is to get that 27th out. There's no clock in baseball. And I think, the game was in like the second inning. It was tied, no score, I believe. And all she wanted to talk about was the parade that's coming. When the Indians win tonight, the parade that's coming. And, I didn't want to burst her bubble, but I kept kind of reminding her, it's like, we got to win tonight. And then we'll talk about that because, things happen in baseball. And when we were talking about this a couple nights ago, game 6 was a mess. And Game 7, to me, as just a baseball fan first, I still say Game 7 of the 16 series is one of the top 5 games ever played as far as just memorable. I mean, you had Cleveland hadn't won it since, 48? And then the Cubs haven't won it since 1908. One of these franchises was going to end it that night. I was watching the game from a Damon's, a place for ribs in Berea, and it was just all Indians fans, 2 Cubs fans. When Rajai hit that homer that you were talking about, the 2 Cubs fans left. And then by the time they took the lead again, they had come back, and they were like 10 times as obnoxious as they were when they were there watching the rest of the game. Bob, I have to ask you, I know this is a baseball show, but are the Browns going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime?
No, it was a fun year for sure. I mean, the last year, I know that, the Steelers victory, beating the Steelers after losing a couple of times to them in the playoffs before, that was a huge win. I think we had a good opportunity with the Chiefs to have a couple of drives to pull it off. But I think the energy in the city is high. Everyone needs to stay healthy. I think the offense is hungry. The city's hungry. It'll be nice if we could get stadiums full with getting with the vaccine and getting beyond COVID. It would be good for the city if we could get full stadiums and get to a Super Bowl. That would be a celebration like no other.
It's probably the thing that I
have to say one other memory.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Joey.
No, this is your show.
I was going to say that Oh no, I was really going to say one other thing because I like being proved wrong in life a lot, and a lot of times I am. But I remember after that 2016 series, I was to opening day on 2017, and I remember we won in the last at bat, and all I remember thinking was you could never duplicate that Game 7 cheer of the crowd, because although we had won opening day, it was just not there. But I was proved wrong because I was also there for Game 22 of the streak, and that was a come from behind victory. We had already taken that winning streak from the Oakland A's, 20 in a row in the American League. It was already sitting at 21, and it was a packed house, and to come back and win, I was proved wrong, because you could have a regular season game that had a playoff World Series atmosphere, and the fans were going crazy afterward, and it was 22. And then they ended up losing their next game, so it ended up staying at 22. But what a memory to be at the Progressive, the Jake, still for that win as well.
Now, I asked Erica last night on our national show. I want to ask you, because I'm not sure if Major League Baseball is kind of governing this, or if each city is kind of governing this. Are fans going to be allowed at Indians games to start the season, or is it no fans to start?
You know, and when you asked Erica that yesterday, I said, one thing I'm going to do in between my meetings today at work is find the answer to that, and I didn't do it. So I don't think that there will be fans. I have not heard that, but again, I am hoping, like I said before, I'm hoping I'm wrong, and that they will allow fans. I was to a couple of Browns games this year, and that worked out well. They had that well managed. I think I was to the early games when they were 6,000 fans, but I'm hoping that there could be fans for baseball as well. I think last year would have been the only year on memory that I hadn't gone to a big Major League Baseball game live. Just I think for all of us, it might have been the first year in a long time.
Yeah, I didn't go to a game last year. I had an opportunity. We have summer league teams that play in the area. One of the teams just canceled their season altogether. And then the team south of me that plays in Franklin, they played I don't know, 20, 30 game schedule. They're called the Milkmen. And I had an opportunity, but I just passed because, it was still kind of new. The pandemic started in March. I think their season started in May. And there was just so much unknown that I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting that opportunity this year. One last question for you, Robert, and then I hope you can stick around. We're gonna unveil the Indians team for 2021, and just like other guests I've had, I want you to tell me where I'm wrong with this roster, because going forward, fans of the Indians or Cleveland fans in general, this is your team. So if I've made mistakes getting this roster to people tonight, we can change it for next year. So hopefully this lasts a long time. But with a potential name change, what name is gaining the most momentum in Cleveland for when the Indians change over in 2022?
I'm not sure that I've heard much about momentum. I know the name Spiders was brought up, but there is some by the national media that Spiders while it was an earlier Cleveland baseball team, it wasn't part of what became the Cleveland Indians. It was a different franchise, but I've heard the Spiders name being talked about. I think everybody has their own idea. I'm not really sure. I think everyone's trying to have the Indians be the name for the 2021 season, and then kind of think through what's next. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I know most of the merchandise have been Black Sea merchandise in recent years, and even when I think back to my All-Star game from 2019, there wasn't a lot of Chief Wahoo being displayed during that year.
Yeah, and I actually, after we talked,
but it will be interesting.
So I did research it myself after we talked originally, and you're right. The Spiders name goes back to an old American Association team. The Indians that we know were actually known as the Naps from like 1902 to 1915 after player manager Nap Lajoie. And then they became the Indians in 15. So the Spiders actually does link to a whole different team in another league. All right, folks. We're gonna start unveiling the roster. The manager of the Indians is Terry Francona, and he has submitted his opening day lineup. So we're gonna unveil that right now. Leading off and playing second base will be the aforementioned Nap Lajoie. Batting second, and this is for Jessica Bailey and her son. Shortstop Francisco Lindor is a Cleveland Indian in the Utopian Baseball Universe. So, batting third, first baseman Jim Thome. Batting fourth, left fielder Albert Bell. Batting fifth will be third baseman Jose Ramirez. Batting sixth will be center fielder Tris Speaker. I'm guessing this is the first time Tris Speaker has ever hit sixth in his life. Batting seventh will be right fielder Larry Doby. Batting eighth, catcher Sandy Alomar Jr. And opening day pitcher for the second straight year will be Rapid Robert Feller. Bob Feller opening on the mound versus the A's on opening day. So far, Robert, what do you think of this opening day lineup for the Cleveland Indians?
No, it's a good, and it's great that it spans multiple generations, and it'll be great to see how this plays out this year. I'm very interested in hearing who the reserves are, because I mean, some of the names I mentioned. It'd be interesting to see if some of the players from the late '60s, early '70s will be named.
So let's actually go right there as a segue. Let's look at the rest of the position players for the Cleveland Indians for 2021. At catcher, we have Austin Hedges. First base, Carlos Santana. Second base, Lou Boudreau. Third base, Casey Blake. Shortstop, Omar Vizquel. And then the three outfielders are Earl Averill, Kenny Lofton, and from the Negro Leagues, and I hope I'm saying this name correctly, Cristobal Torriente. Last year, Rocky Colavito was a member of this roster, but I had unbalanced rosters in 2020. I just kind of added as many names as I could, and some teams had 8 outfielders, some teams had 6, some teams had 12 relief pitchers, some teams had 9. So I wanted all the rosters to be identical as far as that. So Colavito was on the roster last year. He's not this year, but he is property of Cleveland, so he could be next year if the fans of this franchise want to see him in the future. Did I leave anyone out that you would have liked to seen for 2021?
And I would say maybe for next year to think about Ray Fosse, catcher, who I know he moved on to the A's after some years in Cleveland, and then I know Kilson played with a number of teams, Boston and Kansas City Athletics, but I think his time in Cleveland, because there weren't a lot of big heroes in Cleveland after Rocky Colavito and Ken Harrelson. Whatever his salary was, he certainly earned it, because he was bringing fans down to the stadium when attendance in some of those years would be 2,000 or 3,000 in some summer nights.
Yeah, and I say this every show. Building these rosters,
you really have some good.
Yeah, building the rosters is the hardest thing that I do for this, because there's always going to be someone you feel like you're leaving out, or there's certain depth at certain positions for some of these teams, or it's just impossible to include everyone. So fans watching tonight, if I left off your favorite, you will see them at some point. Hopefully this lasts a long, long time. Let's look at the starting pitchers that the Indians are going to go with to start the season. As we mentioned, Bob Feller getting the start on opening day against the A's. Saturday's starter is going to be Shane Bieber, who was not on the roster last year, but he's earned the right to join this year. Satchel Paige going to go on Sunday against the A's. My favorite pitcher of all time, Satchel Paige. CC Sabathia will get the start on Monday against the Giants. And then Addy Joss, who had a unique career. I think he retired when he was 30, but he threw one of the first perfect games in Major League history. He's going to be the 5th starter for the Indians. And then starting the season in the bullpen will be Corey Kluber and Tom Candiotti, an old favorite of Cleveland and Milwaukee fans. And then the bullpen. So, Robert, I'm actually doing something unique this year to make this as interactive as possible. Tonight, after we go off the air, the fans of the Utopian Baseball Universe are going to decide who is going to be the closer for the Indians to start the season amongst this bullpen here. Jose Mesa, Doug Jones, Bob Wickman, Andrew Miller, James Karinchak, if I'm saying that right, Cody Allen, and Jim Kern. The Utopian Baseball Universe that you are all a part of will vote who's going to be the closer for the Indians to start the season. I'm going to put that up tonight, and we're going to leave the poll up for a couple days, and then the fans of the universe are going to decide who's going to be the closer for the Indians. We're not going to do this for every team, but I decided that it was just too close to just pick one guy, and I figure let's let the fans of the Indians decide that. So that'll be up later tonight. Who would your vote be? I'm putting you on the spot, Robert. Who would you vote for tonight to be the closer on opening day for the Indians?
It's interesting as you were going through. I think you spanned every closer for like a 25-year period except Camacho. So I thought he was coming out of your mouth next. I think I have to say Jose Mesa, because I think he has to redeem himself from the 97. Somebody would like to see him on a winning note after I think the 97 series, where I think he personally I think he unfairly gets too much of the blame for that Game 7 against the Marlins. But so that's who I'll pick. I'll give him a second chance.
Sounds good. And he got most of the save opportunities last year for the 2020 Utopian Indians. So we'll see. You guys are going to decide that for me. It doesn't mean that whoever you vote for is going to get all the save opportunities, but he'll be the number one option to at least start the season. Robert, it looks like we've got a number of comments and questions we'll get to here. Now, again, some of these I'm not going to be able to tell who's typing it until after the show because I'm not signed into Facebook right now. Someone first said the Indians were my first Little League team. That's awesome. Someone says, hey, Bob. So someone knows Bob. I know, by the way, Bob has a twin brother named Randy, correct?
That is correct.
And he joined the universe right before the show, so I'm sure he's watching tonight. Brian is asking, are you seeing the messages? So we try to get to the messages and the questions at the end of the show just because I want to give my full attention to the guests. So we're getting to those now. Someone had mentioned the Spiders were a National League team. The Indians were known as the Blues in 1901, the Broncos in 1902, and then the Naps from 03 to 14. And then we've got some some early votes. Someone wants to see Ray Fosse in the universe. And then we've got some votes for Doug Jones to be the closer to start the season. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank Robert again. And my apologies, Robert, for the technical issue that I had on my end. I'd love to have you back during the season, especially if the Indians do some really cool things. Maybe we can get you and your brother on and we can have a little oh, you know what? Actually, come to think of this, and you don't have to answer now, a vote for Steve Olin. We are having another trivia tournament this summer, baseball trivia. I think it'd be interesting to see you and Randy go one-on-one for some family pride later this summer. You don't have to answer now, but I think that would be interesting to see you guys go head-to-head this summer.
Great. No, that looks like a lot of fun. Really looking forward to the year.
All right. Sounds good. Well, again, thank you to Bob Kula for joining us tonight. Please join us tomorrow, Wednesday, February 16th. I'm no good with dates since this pandemic started. Nick Korth, a good friend of mine, my daughter calls him Nick Knuckles. He's going to be our guest tomorrow as we look at the Baltimore Orioles. That'll be at 7 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. Again, my thanks to Robert Kula for joining me. Thanks for you guys for watching tonight, and we will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Take care, Bob. Have a good night. Have a good night to the universe as well.
Joey. Thanks, Joey.